It's the summer. The days are longer, and the nights, well, are hotter. It's the perfect time to talk about romance.
I love romance.
Specifically, romance novels. They've become so popular in recent years, with over 39 million copies sold in 2023. That's according to the New York Times. And that does not exclude the Pacific Northwest. Here, we've also seen a rise in romance books being checked out at libraries. And in the Portland metro area alone, we even have 2 bookstores fully dedicated to romance books. You know these are safe places where you can dive deep into the classic friends to lovers trope, like in When Harry Met Sally.
I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts.
Or even a classic love triangle between a girl and 2 brothers.
We've known each other our whole lives, and in some ways it still feels like a big surprise. And in other ways, it feels inevitable. My boyfriend, my Jeremiah. More and more I understand. This is the way it's supposed to be. He's the one. My one.
That's from the hit new season of The Summer I Turned Pretty. From the Gert Boyle studio, I'm Jen Chavez, and this is The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB about the place you call home. Today, we are talking all about love and romance books with 2 of my faves, Crystal Ligori, OPB's All Things Considered host, and Sukhjot Sal, OPB digital producer. Both are well-versed in the world of books.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So let's start first with a fun question. What got y'all into the romance genre in the first place?
Well, for me, I'm actually relatively new to romance for books specifically as a genre, but I've been a romance and rom-com fan since middle school, basically like Baz Luhrmann's version of Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo. Oh, Romeo. Wherefore art thou Romeo?
With Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio came out when I was maybe an 8th grader, and that was kind of a staple in my video rental rotation.
Oh, yeah.
Romeo, doff thy name, and for thy name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word.
The 90s were kind of the golden era of rom-coms, the Nora Ephron of it all, as it were. You know, Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail.
I turn on my computer. I go online.
Welcome.
And my breath catches in my chest until I hear 3 little words.
You've got mail.
But even movies like Clueless could really fit into that romance or rom-com genre.
So what do you think?
I'm amazed.
That I'm devoting myself so generously to someone else?
No, that you found someone even more clueless than you are to worship you.
Oh my gosh. All right. You're speaking my language, Crystal. What about you, Sukhjot?
I agree. Anything where Tom Hanks is in a sweater, that is what I want to watch. Yeah, I've kind of always been into romance. I think from the moment I had like a crush on someone in kindergarten, I was like, I need to read about this and watch movies about it all the time. So yeah, I mean, everything, the 90s rom-coms are some of my favorites. And then a couple oldies, like An Affair to Remember is such a good one.
Have you got pink champagne? Of course. Let me try it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you have pink champagne?
Of course.
Mississippi Masala, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Like, those are some great romance movies that I love. And yeah, I don't know what is so attractive about these books and movies, but they just keep me coming back to them.
Amazing. And I know that for an OPB story, you visited Oregon's newest romance bookstore, Grand Gesture Books. Can you paint us a picture of what it's like in there?
Yeah, so Catherine Morgan, the owner, she put together a romance lover's dream.
So when you come into Grand Gesture Books and you hear the bell ringing. Hi, welcome in.
There's a huge variety of romance novels from like every single genre and including Pacific Northwest authors. And she also has novels about love in general. So not just romantic love, but friendship, self-care, every form of love that you can think of. In addition to that, there's like armchairs, there's carpets, there's like warm lighting, there's tote bags, there's candles, stickers, bookmarks. So everything that you need to be comfortable and read about love, she has it. And Catherine herself is a great resource because she gives like recommendations for books, and anything that you want to ask about, she's there.
Like Sukhjot mentioned, the owner of Grand Gesture is Catherine Morgan. I got to interview her last year when she worked at Powell's and curated their romance book section. She's incredible.
If I die, or when I die, I was like, I want to be in an urn in the romance section. They'll be like, Catherine Morgan's romance section right here. And I can just watch people fall in love, and I'm like, yay! It's one of those genres where it's like, you know what's going to happen, and it doesn't matter. Like, for me, it's like I care more about, and the main part of it is like you care more about how the couple gets together. Like, you know they're gonna end up together, so it's fine. But it's like, that's the excitement.
Like many dedicated readers, her love of bookstores dates back to her childhood.
My family, we lived in Chicago and we didn't have a lot of money. So for the most part, I actually went to a lot of libraries first. But on special occasions, my mother would give me like $20 and we'd go to Barnes & Noble. And it just felt like almost like an adult experience, because when you're younger, like usually like you're adult, your parents pick your books, you get told what to read. But getting the money to go to Barnes & Noble or any bookstore and like having your adult be like, okay, you can pick out whatever you want, was like the holy grail. But me, it always felt like a sense of like freedom.
Okay, so I follow Catherine on social media, but I haven't actually seen her since I last interviewed her. Sukhjot, what did she say about her amazing new bookstore? What does she want others to feel when they visit?
Yeah, I mean, I think when she was putting her bookstore together, she was kind of thinking about how love makes her feel. And something that she told me when I interviewed her last year is that romance makes her realize how she wants to be loved as a person and also how she wants to love people in her life, platonically or romantically. And I think that's kind of the theme that's in her bookstore. And in addition to that, she seriously wants people to have meet cutes, go on first dates, get engaged, get married in her bookstore. That is a goal of hers.
Yes. Okay, so I actually have heard a little bit about this and her goals for, celebrating and creating love in the space. Has she hosted a wedding yet at Grand Gesture?
I checked up on this, and I think just last month she had an all-day wedding extravaganza where tons of couples, all day, and tons of couples came to Grand Gesture and just had their marriages officiated right in the bookstore itself. So I think she's having her dream come true.
People who have never been to the store before chose to get married at this store, and it was a day full of love, a day full of just like enjoyment. A lot of tears were shed, mainly mine, but it was just a really wonderful, fun day.
Romance books have been around for decades, but sales have soared in recent years. 18 million copies were sold in 2020 and 39 million were sold in 2023. That's according to the New York Times. The genre is so big, we now have panels on the genre in Portland. My colleague Crystal sat down with 2 romance authors for the Portland Book Festival in 2024. One of the authors was Caitlin Doyle, who wrote Just Some Stupid Love Story. She talked about first reading historical romances at 9 years old.
My grandmother had like 500 Fabio-covered paperback bodice rippers hidden on bookshelves throughout her home. And she would be reading them, and we would not know what she was reading because she had these cloth-bound covers she would put them in. It was like, oh, I'm innocently reading this Laura Ashley thing. Like, why could I be blushing and giggling all the time? So, of course, my cousins and I would like rip the Laura Ashley chased cloth-bound cover off and then find these absolutely just like riveting images of undressed people. So I started reading them in secret, and then it really stuck. And I mean, how could they not?
Another author Crystal interviewed was Lily Chu, who wrote The Takedown. She says there is no other genre that is so hopeful and joyful.
The entire point of romance is that at the end, people will be happy. However they determine their happiness, but they will be together at the end. So whatever they go through, I'm okay with it because I'm going to have that satisfaction at the end.
Y'all, why do you think people are turning to romance more these days? Let's start with you, Crystal.
Well, I think the answer is kind of twofold. First, I think it's about really leaning into authenticity. For so long, we as women have been really conditioned to think that our likes and our preferences are really silly or childish. I think about how often pop music, like in the 90s and 2000s when I was a teen, was dismissed as being for teeny boppers. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, we've got like grown men in their 50s who are on talk shows proudly saying like they're Swifties. And, there's not that inherent shame anymore. Romance is predominantly a genre that's written for, by, and about women. And I think that really speaks to the growth of it in the book world. Second, I think we've just had some really dark times in the last 5 years, to be frank. A lot of isolation, a lot of disconnection from our communities. And I think that translated into people gravitating towards a genre that actually had some kind of hope in it. Author Lily Chu kind of echoed that sentiment when I spoke with her.
We haven't been going through the funnest of days and years for half a decade. And I think we saw a huge drive in romance, especially in the pandemic, because people want that certainty at the end.
I think romance novels also have qualities in people that we want to reflect. And there's a lot of empathy, there's consideration, there's thoughtfulness. And that's what keeps me reading it over and over again. And it's something that we want to model and see in others. And especially when things are tough, it's just really comforting and not just an escape, but something that we can aspire to.
I love that idea of it being aspirational. I remember I have a friend who's much younger than me, and when she was sort of in the dating pool, she was like, there's not a lot out here. And so I am sort of delving into this genre as well. If I can't find it on Tinder, I'll find it in this book.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, we're talking about the rise of romance novels. That is not just happening nationally. Portland Metro Libraries and Washington County Cooperative Library Services have also seen an increase here regionally. Sukjot, how much exactly has readership gone up?
Yeah, in Washington County Libraries specifically, there's a huge exponential increase from pre-pandemic 2017-ish to 2023, there's been an increase in physical romance novel checkouts by nearly 30%. And in the same time frame, romance audio checkouts increased by around 16%, and ebook checkouts increased by about 40%. So huge numbers all around.
Well, coming up after a break, we'll dive into summer romance book recommendations and our favorite romance tropes. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, our podcast from OPB about the place you call home. If you find yourself falling in love with what you hear, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll brighten your Monday morning a little bit with something new and exciting to listen to each week. You can also follow OPB on Instagram at OPB Photo, or follow me directly at Jen Chavez OPB. That's Jen with 2 N's, and I'll keep you posted on what Team Evergreen is up to. And remember, this episode about the rise of romance books and bookstores and all the great OPB reporting and storytelling you hear on this show is made possible by the support of many thousands of OPB members. And that support means more to us now than ever before. Warm our hearts and support our journalism by becoming an OPB sustaining member today at opb.org/pod. And now, back to the show. Okay, I, for one, am using this episode to share about something I learned about pretty recently: romance tropes.
My all-time favorite romantic trope is the only one room at the inn trope. Yeah. Also called the only one bed trope. I think I wrote one once that was only one spot to sleep on at the floor of the old mill in the snowstorm trope. Yeah, anytime there is intense forced proximity and our lovers must suddenly find themselves navigating the tension of a shared sleep space, I get very delighted.
That's author Caitlin Doyle again. Catherine Morgan of Grand Gesture Books likes...
just like anything that's funny and eye-opening, or I also love it when people feel very seen in a romance. That always makes me very happy.
And this is Lily Chu's favorite trope.
I thought I really loved enemies to lovers, and then I realized I actually love rivals to lovers. So when they're both like, either they have competing goals or the exact same goal, and then they have to work together, but they really dislike each other, but they respect each other. I love that one.
All right, Crystal and Sukhjot, I am interested in what your favorite romance tropes are. Please regale me, tell me. Sukhjot, you want to go first?
Okay, I have two. I've been waiting for this question all my life.
Yes, we are so happy to provide this venue then.
Yeah, a couple of mine are actually the same as the authors. My first one is friends to lovers. I think that's pretty basic, but I think it's just because usually friends to lovers, they've been paying attention to each other, and I just love when there's details and people paying attention to each other. That's just my favorite thing. So seeing like people grow from adolescence into adulthood and like knowing each other well, like I love reading about that. And in the same vein, I like enemies to lovers as well, because if it's written properly, enemies have to know each other's weaknesses. And I think knowing someone's weaknesses, disliking them, and then growing to love them is like such a powerful form of love, because you have to like really love this person if you hated them a minute ago. And so those are two of my favorite ones.
Okay, Crystal, I want to hear yours too, but I will say I thought about this question a little bit, and the romance series that I was so wrapped up in when I was young, when I was a kid, was Anne of Green Gables. I don't know if y'all have read Anne of Green Gables. Spoiler alert! But the primary trope of that is, I believe, enemies to lovers. Gilbert Blythe starts as an enemy, but becomes so much more. Spoiler alert, so sorry. But so yeah, I'm on board with you with enemies to lovers for sure. And thank you for making me reflect on Anne of Green Gables and Gilbert Blythe recently.
That is actually like my favorite novel. I'm not even kidding you. Like I wrote a scholarship essay for college about that novel. Like I'm obsessed with that book.
Cool. Well, we are all on the same page, so to speak. And with that, Crystal, please tell me your favorite romance tropes.
I'm also a big fan of friends or enemies to lovers.
Okay.
But I love what's commonly called second chance romance, something like The One That Got Away. I didn't even really know I liked that trope until I read Caitlin Doyle's book, Just Some Stupid Love Story, which opens during like a 20-year high school reunion and then sort of bounces back and forth through the pair's history and then back to current time over the following years to the next reunion. I think it's this idea of sort of what could have been or what you missed out on that's really intriguing to me.
Yes, intriguing indeed. We, of course, need to know more about the world of romance tropes. This is the investigative journalism I'm here for. So we caught up with Ren Rice, the owner of the Romance Era Bookshop, at a cafe. Ren's shop was once a brick and mortar in Vancouver, Washington, but it's now an online store. Ren says they love an age gap.
Either he's older or she's older. I think there's something to be said about just like, obviously a consensual adult age gap relationship or like, you know, one's learning from the other or vice versa, because I'm a firm believer in just because you turn 34 doesn't mean that you stop seizing to like fall in love and have sex and all that stuff. So I think that's really fun. I'm a big sucker for like a billionaire romance. I'm just gonna say it. I know like we don't like capitalism, but I like when there's like, you know, some rich person that's like, I got you, here's my card. Because I think we all want that at some point in our lives.
Not only are there tropes, there's also this thing called micro-tropes, which Lily Chu talked about with you, Crystal, at the Portland Book Festival.
Has anyone heard of micro-tropes? This was, okay, so I learned about this when someone's like, what's your favorite microtrope? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So a microtrope is like the little mini beats. So one would be, he's backing up and puts his arm around the back of her seat, or the hair tuck behind her ear, or like
Forearms.
So, do you all have favorite microtropes?
So this is something I've thought less about, but I think the question is kind of more of how you like to be flirted with. I love someone who can confidently wink. I have been with my partner for a very, very long time. I'll preface that. But I was having lunch with a girlfriend a couple weeks ago, and there was a spill at the table next to us and kind of like commotion, kerfuffle, and there were some folks coming to clean it up. And then we were chatting with one of the servers and busboys. And when they were leaving, they said some funny quip and then winked at us. And I was definitely like, oh, okay. And my girlfriend and I were like, wow, that really takes some confidence. And yeah, I didn't realize that I like that. I feel myself getting a little flushed just talking about it. But I didn't even think that that was something I liked until it sort of happened IRL.
Oh my God, that's the best way to find out you are
Yes.
into something. What about you, Sukhjot?
I think going along with my enemies to lovers thing, I love this is really, really micro, but I love the line where a love interest will just be like, who did this to you? You know? Because I thought you hated me. Like, that's crazy. It's really simple, but it does come up a lot. And I really, the Cruel Prince, I don't remember who wrote it, but The Cruel Prince is a great example of a good enemies to lovers where there's some protective feelings of each other.
And I can imagine it in movie scenes, just like sitting there watching a movie or something and the pinkies touch.
Uh-huh.
So, you know?
Bridgerton season 1.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There it is. So yes, obviously romance is cute and all, but the genre can lack diversity, which is not very cute at all. That's why inclusivity is at the heart of grand gesture, says owner Catherine Morgan.
Genre has definitely made better strides on being, more diverse, whether that's race or, like disability or things like that. It's important to elevate, characters who, A, look like me, like I'm a fat Black woman and, I'm proud of that. And, I want characters who, A, are diverse, whether or not they're like people of color or, women of color. I love like plus size characters, whether they're women or men.
In addition to housing Book Talk's most popular romances, Catherine is focusing on highlighting underrepresented love stories, from a sapphic Black romance to a multiracial zombie love story. You name it, she's got it, or something similar.
If I can help someone find a book that like showcases the fact that like they themselves are worthy of love or worthy of affection in whatever way, like that is a really like beautiful thing to me.
Ren Rice feels the same. Again, Ren is the owner of the online shop, The Romance Era.
I wanted to create like a community and like a space where there's no judgment, because the romance genre is so vast and there's a lot of aspects to it where, it's only become more acceptable now to talk about certain aspects of that genre on the internet. And some people still don't feel comfortable talking about it publicly. So I like when people walk in, we can talk about books, we could talk about genres, we could talk about authors we like. And it's just like talking with your friend.
Ren currently works a part-time job in addition to running the Romance Era online. They made the shift in June of 2025 to go from a brick and mortar to an online shop.
I did everything alone. I did have employees at one point, but it's really hard to sustain, giving people a living wage when we're in like such a big drop in the economic, everything, financial. It's not going great for a lot of people right now. And I think this model works a little bit better for me because it does give me a lot more flexibility, a lot more autonomy over my own time.
Ren says they want reading to be accessible for people, so they don't make prices so high.
I have one set price for paperbacks and one set price for hardcovers because I think reading should be accessible. Buying a $30 book is not doable for everybody, but you can come in and buy a $10 book and, and get reading material. And I think that's sort of what sets me apart a little bit, is that people can come in and get like maybe 3 or 4 books of the cost of a new book.
And if you're looking for a good summer romance recommendation, we asked Ren and Catherine for you, in case you're looking for a little spice. You're welcome. This is Ren's Rec.
I picked Lost Love Found by Christina Santos. It's the Love in LA series. It's actor and a set designer that they meet under very unconventional circumstances, and they develop a friendship first over time, and then that slowly grows into a romance, and I really liked it. It was very cute. If you like a slow burn, it's a great one to read.
Again, that was Lost Love Found by Christina Santos. And Catherine's pick is Curvy Girl Summer
by Danielle Allen. It is a pro-fat Black woman who is looking for love, and it's spicy, it's funny as heck, and it's got all the great vibes of a summer romance. Like, I read it and I was kicking my feet and giggling, doing a whole lot of giggling actually, and it was just a whole lot of fun, and so I always recommend that one for summer reads.
What has been something interesting you've learned about in romance books since interviewing folks about their books or opening a bookstore? What about you, Crystal?
Well, I was surprised, like really shocked actually, about how spicy, let's say, these books can get. There were a few different terms I learned when I was doing research before the interviews, and something that came up was open door versus closed door. Closed door is more of, and then they had a night they'd never forget, ... And you just sort of imagine what happens behind closed doors. Open doors is more explicit, sometimes a lot more so. Definitely, I did sort of a companion of reading the books and also listening on audiobooks. And I was listening in my headphones doing dishes, feeling myself blush, being like, I'm glad I'm not listening aloud to this necessarily. It's something Caitlin Doyle explained really well.
My historical books are wildly spicy. Like, they kind of are a little bit on the cusp between, like, they're not erotic, like erotic romance and historical romance, let's say. And there are two different series, and one is set around a Georgian era whipping house, you know, like a whoosh, whoosh.
I mean, I don't know, but I know now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an actual thing. People used to go to these like BDSM kind of kink palaces and be whipped and enjoy other forms of adult entertainment.
I also found it really interesting that there seems to be a romance novel for pretty much anything, and people have actually compiled these searchable databases where you can say, like, I want a female plus-size woman of color to be the lead, I want there to be an enemies to lovers trope, and I want my love interest to be a centaur. So I made that up, but I am 100% sure that exists.
For real. You know, that actually reminds me, too, of something I learned from Catherine when I interviewed her at Powell's. It's just like there is this whole subgenre of romance that is considered monster smut. So that's for people who like want to imagine different, perhaps, paranormal type subjects of romantic interest. And she even told me that there is a subgenre of monster smut called dinosaur smut. And I was like, girl, really? And then I looked it up online, and this exists. And I was like,
you weren't using your OPB computer.
Oh, no. I was, because this was research for the people, okay? And I thought, so anyway, there is nothing wrong with that. And everyone should read all the types of books that they want. I was just fascinated to learn at how much diversity within like romance, not only, the diversity that we've been talking about, but also just like things that I never thought there would be a romance novel about. Someone has thought up like a series of 15 of them. So yeah. Sukjo, what about you? Have you learned anything interesting in romance books as you've been working on it for OPB?
Well, I've learned a lot just now about dinosaur smut.
You're welcome.
I love to learn. I think something that I took away from speaking with Catherine last year was, and maybe this is just because I'm very cynical and jaded, but also somehow romantic, which is just that this type of love does exist outside of books.
Yes.
That was like my takeaway. I was like, that's crazy, actually. Catherine was like, yeah, like I've experienced it. I was like, that's amazing. So it's not just escapism. It's like it does exist in the world. And that's just really heartwarming.
Oh, I love that. I mean, yeah, I think that's something that I've heard folks say, and I think Sukhjot, you mentioned it earlier, the idea that we can like have a happy ending in what we're reading. And then it's like, oh, wait, happy endings happen in life too. Whoa, even to all of us. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, thank you.
We love love. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
You can read and listen to Crystal Lagori and Sukhjot Sal's reporting on romance authors and books at opb.org. We'll also link to them in our show notes. And hey, if you have a favorite romance novel, we would love to know about it. Share it with us in an email at theevergreen@opb.org. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB. Mia Estrada produced this episode, and our technical director is Stephen Cray. He also engineered the episode. The OPB podcast team also includes Julie Sabatier, Sage Van Wing, and Malia Fass. Crystal Lagori, Mia Estrada, and I did the interviews you heard. The music in this episode is from Audio Network. I'm Jen Chavez. Catch you later.
I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair. I hate the way you drive my car. I hate it when you stare. I hate your big dumb combat boots and the way you read my mind. I hate you so much it makes me sick. It even makes me rhyme. I hate it. I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse when you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact that you didn't call. But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.